What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Played Out Podcast, a competitive focus Age of Sigmar podcast. My name is Kyle, aka Creator Gator, and today I'm here with my dog-loving friend, James. James, how are you doing?
Good. I got a little ride along today. This is my puppy. I am dog dadding today because my wife is out, so she'll be joining us for the podcast.
Very nice. What's her name?
Millie. This is little Millie. She's a little cavalier. She's like 6 months old. She's a great dog, and she sits on my lap while I play video games and stuff. So listen,
I love that.
Can't beat that. You know.
Yeah. We have a cat that sits on my wife's lap while we're working from home, but like she will not sit on mine, which is really annoying because I'm like, that'd be perfect for playing video games and just like watching battle reports and stuff like that.
It's great.
Yeah.
10 out of 10.
I love that. We have two cats, and the other one is like my cat because like she likes me. You know what I mean? So like me and her, when I get like going to bed to sleep, she like sits right here, and I cuddle with her until I go to sleep, which is adorable. But
animal love's the best.
I know. I love animals. Animals are great.
She's got a little cone because she had surgery. But we're all good.
That's an adorable cone, by the way.
Yeah, she hated the other one. But listen.
That does look like way cozier than like the plastic cone that they would give an animal.
Looks like she's about to get on the plane.
Mm-hmm. Gonna take a little nap. I love that. Speaking of little things, we're talking about Spearhead today. Great
little
intro.
Game.
Mm-hmm.
Little game.
So we're recording this on Sunday. They did a full playthrough of Spearhead. They showed a lot of Spearhead stuff off. They also showed a lot of stuff about the big game, which is fun. But there's so much to talk about this weekend. Like they really just showed us the box on Thursday. So like this weekend has just been like
chock
drinking
full
from a fire hose of Age of Sigmar information. I'm super excited for it. Everything that's been in around the area has been just like hype about it. And we're really excited. So we're going to take today and just kind of deep dive into all of the Spearhead specific things that they showed us, specifically for the Stormcast and the Skaven, because those are the ones that they showed us on the live stream that they have between the two wrestlers. So jumping in, there's something that is important of note. So as we know, when you get the box, you get two Spearhead forces. You get a Stormcast and a Skaven one. However, the army that you use for Spearhead is smaller than what I had initially thought. I thought you'd be using all the models in the box. But, 40 clan rats is kind of a lot to fit on that board.
Yeah.
So, for the Stormcast side, we have no Reclusians. We have no Lord Terminos and no Knight Questor. So, we haven't seen their War Scrolls yet for Spearhead. Yeah. And then on the rat side, they have no Warplock Jezzails.
Sad.
No Rotling Warp Blaster, which is also sad. And then for the Liberators, they only had a 5-man unit of Liberators, and I believe they had 2 units of 10 clan rats on the board. Mm-hmm. 10 from this video, 10 started on the board, and then 10 started off the board. I don't know if they were just like using
tactically choosing that, or it's like required. Yeah.
I'm not sure. We haven't seen like that full rule. The game itself ended in an 18-18 tie with a big comeback from the Skaven player, and when we talk more about the battle tactics, we'll kind of talk about how he used that to basically come back super, like at the end, just be like, and I scored this for this, and I scored this for this, and I scored this for this, and now we're like up to 18, you know. So that's like kind of my big notes before we jump into like all of the images that they showed us. And the thing that I'm very excited about is they showed us the regiment abilities and the enhancements that we will be choosing in the battle. So James, you want to walk us through the rats?
Yeah, sure. So regiment abilities, right? So you pick one of these following regiment abilities. So before you start the game or before you start playing, you're like, okay, this is the benefit that I have an army-wide benefit. This is what it is, right? Mm-hmm. For the rats, you get to pick Warpstone laced bullets or too quick to hit, right? Warpstone laced bullets is you pick a ranged weapon on a friendly unit that is armed with that weapon has now crit mortals, which, you know, again, you don't have the Rattling gun in here, but on certain weapons, that's nuts, you know? The other one is too quick to hit, which means that you can, no mortal damage is inflicted when units retreat. So it basically means you can retreat for free. Very Skaven, very like rat focused. And I honestly think that's probably the better of the two, if I'm being completely honest.
a big thing that I've seen so far looking through these guys is there's like there's abilities that are powerful that are once per battle, and then there's like less powerful passives. You know what I mean? But
I will say that this but it's very like, because you want to like a lot of Skaven has like recur, like clan rats recur. Like you kind of want to like have something hit them not completely die, then them back up. You know?
Yeah, true.
So I think that honestly, like playing into Skaven, and again, like the weapons that you don't have right now are the Rattling Gun and the Giselles. So it's like those are kind of your two big shooting outputs. Like all your heroes, two of your heroes have guns. You have the Gat Rat. You have like the one of the ogres has a gun, but it's like, and it's good, but it's not like high volume, in the same way that the Rattling Gun is. So I think probably if I'm playing rats, I would probably pick the Too Quick to Hit,
Definitely.
Yeah. So in addition to that, you get to pick an enhancement, right? So you get to give your general a little buff, and you get 4 to pick from here, right? So the same way, so there's a reaction one. It's called Lead the Seething Horde. The effect is the reaction is you declare the Call for Reinforcements ability. Instead of setting up using the setup instructions for Call for Reinforcements ability, you can then you can instead set up that unit wholly within 13 inches of this unit and not in combat. So I think it's very powerful. I mean, it's going to be happening with clan rats. So it's one of those things that, putting clan rats just outside of combat is nice, but it's not like they're not going to pick up a hammer unit. You know what I mean? So
yeah. I definitely think this game, there's not like your hammer units are not as hammery, because we're living in a limited format with this. So like I think just being able to pop 10 bodies back onto the board and be like, can you do 10 damage? Like it doesn't even matter if they had no save, can just do the damage time, like damage times your attacks. Does that equal 10? Because if not, you're not moving these guys.
It's true.
So
it's also really good for getting like objectives back and like snagging things from your opponents. Like it can be a very, very powerful tool. The Scryer connections. So the effect is your general gets their Rattling Pistol, gets 2d6 shots instead of 1d6 shots. So like maybe you want to pair that with that Crit Mortal, you get a little more value out of the shooting.
Yeah.
But again, when I read 2d6, I read 2. I don't read 12.
As someone who used to love Lehman Russ tanks, I can tell you that it is lower than you expect every single time.
It's 2. It's 2. It can be good if that's what you kind of want to lean into. The Warpstone Charm, you subtract 1 for save rolls for enemy units in combat with your general. That's pretty good. Your general's kind of hitty. You know what I mean? Like it's not a Skaven foot hero. It's like a mounted. This is going to be one of the units in your army that's going to do a decent amount of work, So you do want them in combat. So it's nice to have. It's effectively plus run into everything that is, also in combat with that thing. And then you have the Cloak of the Stitch Victories. You get a 5 up ward. It's just good. That's honestly the one I'd pick.
I would if it wasn't for the fact that I don't think they confirmed this, but I believe the general is the guy on the mounted one. I don't think you can make it the Gracier or the.
No, I think it's the big one, which is more value if you get the ward on that guy.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, we'll talk about the Warscrolls when we get to it, but I believe it's still only 8, which is like a 5 up ward on a 8 wound model. I think I like the Warpstone Charm. I think that gives you a lot of.
It gives you a lot of play.
Yeah, I mean, then your clan rats become -1 Ren too, which is like.
It's true. That is a lot more lethal. I think like if I had to rank these, I'd go like Cloak of Stitch Victories, Leading the Seething Horde, Warpstone Charm, Scryer Connections.
Yeah,
Scryer Connections, not interested at all, and like that one is like far below. Yeah. Like
the Scryer Connections plus Warplace Bullets is like a fun thing, but it's a fun thing locked behind the 2d6 dice roll. Plus, you're giving up the Warpstone Charm and the Leading Seething Horde, which are just like passives and reactions, which are like happen every time. It's also like those two things will give you more tools to play the game more strategically, which is I'm going to pop stuff off and pop stuff back on the board and claim objectives for you, or I'm going to make I get to choose when my things get more lethal with the Warpstone Charm. So.
Yeah, it's true. And it's not like these aren't like use them and burn them, right? Like these are just like ambient.
The once per battle you're shooting phase, the warpstone lace bullets, that is a use and burn.
Yes. The warpstone lace. Yeah, sorry, I meant the enhancements. Yes.
No, yeah.
Yeah, the regiment stuff is. Yeah, that honestly makes it worse. Like the one, it's like I was like, oh, it's just worse, even if it was the whole game, and then it's like, oh, you can only use it once. Yeah, it's worse.
When we get to the Stormcast one, there is a couple of those where I was like, oh, I don't like that very much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Speaking of Stormcast.
Yep. All right, so we get to this is the specific Reclusian one. There are 2 Stormcast Spearhead available. One is like the Yndrasta one, and this is the one that we're getting in this box. So in our regiment abilities, we get to choose 2 of them. One is called Strike Where Needed. It's a once per battle reaction that you declare to retreat ability, and you use it on a unit that declared a retreat ability, and the effect is no mortal damage is inflicted on that unit by the retreat ability. In addition, the unit can still charge, use the charge ability this turn, though it used a retreat ability. So it's basically like once per battle, you can retreat and charge.
It's pretty good. The prosecutors, pretty like getting the buffs on the prosecutors, pretty nice.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one is Blaze of Glory, familiar. Declare, pick a friendly unit that is in combat. Effect until the end of that phase. Each time a model in that unit is slain, make a vengeance roll of d6, and on a 4-up, inflict 1 mortal damage onto an enemy unit in combat with that unit. It's also once per battle, any combat phase. So to me, this reads as I'm using it on my Liberator unit, because then I get to roll 5 dice. So it's a once per battle, potentially 5 damage, potentially no damage. Mm-hmm. So IMO, I think I take Strike Where Needed, because at least that lets me do something, like guarantee do something that's beneficial, which is move my guy somewhere else.
Not potentially do 1 mortal wound.
Exactly. Yeah. It sucks that it says each time a model is slain, because you could do this on your prosecutors that have 2 wounds. You could do it on liberators that have 2 wounds, but it's on a 4-up and it's 1 mortal damage to the enemy unit.
Not really hype.
Yeah, not really my thing.
I think and honestly, I think that if I'm thinking about what's in the box, right? Like and this is something after you're done the enhancements, you do the enhancements. I have a question afterwards. Yeah.
Roger. Then we have the enhancements. We have the Hallowed Scroll. Your general has a ward of 5-up. Always good. Morta's Talon, which is a passive effect. Your general's Hallowed Great Axe has crit mortal, which is pretty hype. I do like that. And then we have a once per battle ability in a combat phase called Quicksilver Draught, which is your general has a strike first effect this phase, which is pretty nice. And then we have the once per battle end of turn Null Pendant. Declare, roll a dice for each enemy unit contesting the same objective as your general, and on a 2-up, subtract the roll from that control score of that enemy unit this turn.
Pretty good.
So I would like Null Pendant sounds amazing, except it's once per battle, and you have to roll a dice for it.
Yeah,
it's also like a 2-up. So it's the control score, not the value. So if there are 10 clan rats on it, you're not reducing that 1 to a 0. You're reducing that 10 by d6.
Yes.
So it's less good in my mind with that specifically. Of the enhancements, I definitely like the Hallowed Scroll. I definitely like the Morta's Talon for fun.
For memes.
For the memes. Yeah, for the, what's it called? The Smash Captain idea. I think Null Pendant is my least favorite.
Yeah.
Then Quicksilver Draught, then Morta's, then Hallowed Scroll. Having a 5-up ward on the big guy is pretty nice. Yeah,
it's pretty nice. Especially when he's so slappy. He's especially in this box. Because I honestly think I pick completely different stuff for the other box. Not that Yndrasta is bad, but I feel like there's buffs I would hold for the Annihilators in that box that I wouldn't use in the Prosecutors of this box. You know what I mean?
I'm curious about all of the other boxes. I can't wait to get my hand on the Fire and Jade and book and just start looking through and look at what everybody has. I'm super excited about that.
I'm definitely down to I'm if we want to do a couple a weeknight where we just bring I'll bring both of my Vanguards, you bring 2 or 3 of your Vanguards, and then we just round robin each other. That'd be fun.
That would be fun.
That sounded sus. I want to round robin
each other. Nice. But yeah, overall, I like these abilities. I like these enhancements. I think there are some stinkers, and I think there's some good ones. But I got to try it out. It's nice that you can pick this specifically against your opponent too. You know what I mean? You know what they have, and then you can pick it.
Yeah,
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So what were you gonna say?
For the game. So speaking of the other box, right? So these enhancements and stuff are like they're for both this Spearhead and the other Storm.
No, they're
not
separate. No, these are like each individual. I mean, they haven't confirmed this, but this is the way that kind of like Warcry works, where it's like, there are multiple Stormcast Warcry warbands, and each of them have their own rules. Wow. So I believe that's going to be like this, where it's like these rules are not going to carry over to the other.
Okay. Interesting. I think that's weird. I don't necessarily know if I like. I guess it's the best way to balance it is to make everything like in its own
I don't think
pot.
it's weird at all. I think I think it's like, I think it makes sense, and I think that you need that. Yeah, because like these don't really work on the other, like the whole Annihilator thing is they show up later. Like there's no mention of them showing up later in this.
It's true, but Retreat and Charge on Annihilators would be pretty hot.
Yeah, Retreat and Charge is like pretty good, just overall, especially if you have it's. I don't like that it's once per battle. Anything that's once per battle, I'm like, I don't like that, because like you're waiting for that one specific scenario where it's useful. But I do like this way better than to just randomly not do damage to somebody.
Yeah, that sucks. And that's also once per battle.
Exactly. So like this could potentially get you more points, So
I think the Regiment abilities are a little lackluster. The enhancements are pretty good. My overall take from the Stormcast ones. Yeah. I think. Like, because they're like limited to once per battle. Like I agree. I also don't like that. And it's weird that you're like, okay, like I get Retreat and Charge once. You're like, yeah, I get it. The battle's not that long, but like it kind of like, it feels weird.
Yeah. I'd much rather have a passive. Like I'd rather get to choose between two passives than choose between two once per game abilities.
Like maybe, I don't know, all my units have a 6-up ward.
I hate that. Don't. I think like this is like the format of where the power level is like crank that down.
Keep it low.
What I mean?
Yeah. True.
They also showed us in one of their I believe they showed us in a YouTube video, they showed us like an example of the battle plan, which I believe is the only battle plan for Fire and Jade.
Especially because it's called Fire and Jade.
It's called Fire and Jade. Yeah. So I was like, that's kind of a confirmation where it's like, this is really the only way that you play. And that kind of not has me worried, but I'd like to see like at least three ways that you could potentially play. But I understand why they have this, because there is a lot of different things. So let me walk through the pre-battle sequence. So 1, you roll off, the winner chooses who's the attacker and who's the defender. 2, the attacker picks their regiment ability and their enhancements, and then the defender does. Important, the defender does it second, so they can see what the other person picked, and then they pick theirs. 3, the defender chooses which side of the realm battlefield the players will fight on, Aqshy or Gyran. That's massive, because if you are familiar with all of the twists in both of them, you can say these twists are really going to hurt you or really benefit me, and then you can kind of plan around that. 4, the defender picks one of the deployment maps on the right and chooses which territory belongs to which player. So I guess you kind of have 4 different ways to play, where it's like Battle Plan 1 and Battle Plan 2, and then Gyran on 1, Gyran on 1, or Aqshy on 1, Gyran. Yeah. So you have like more options with that, which is nice. It's nice that the defender kind of gets to pick it, so you feel like you're not really randomly rolling for it, you're picking it.
So does it come with 2 boards? Does the box come with 2 boards or 1 board?
1 board, double-sided.
Okay.
Yeah. So on one side it looks like the top image, and on the bottom side it looks like the below image.
Got it. But one of them is red and one of them is green.
Yes.
Just randomly, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's thematic for the lore. Like Gyran is green, Aqshy is red.
Yes. Yeah. But you can play like Gyran on the Aqshy side.
No.
Oh,
you pick the deployments are different.
Oh, okay. Now I understand.
I understand where the confusion is. They do show that the images are like the
it's the deployment zone.
It's the deployment method, not necessarily where these like objectives are. But they did use different objectives for the thing, which is kind of I understand where that's confusing. But You pick the side, actually, your guy
Kyle,
ran, and then you just
I
pick
knew
the
that.
deployment.
I knew that. I was asking for everyone else listening to the
Of course.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the defender sets up their terrain features followed by the attacker. Each terrain feature must be set up wholly within the friendly territory, more than 6 inches from all other territory features, and more than 3 inches from both long battlefield edges and enemy territory. Terrain features cannot be set up on top of the objectives either wholly or partially. So that's a big like asterisk thing of where you can set up the stuff. So there's probably going to be limited options of where you can set up. When they say on top of the objectives, I believe the objectives are still that 40 millimeter circle. Like I know they're the same size they are in the big game. But I believe when they mention the objective, they mention the 40 millimeter circle, not the whole big circle. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that gives you a little bit of play. And if people have abilities that come in from the side of the board, you might be able to block that out a little bit. They'll still get to place it behind it, but then they'll have to move around the territory. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Or the terrain. So, and then they don't say this in the rest of this stuff, but they do. Like the way that it was played was that the attacker got to choose who went first.
Yeah, which is important because the defender gets. It seems like the defender gets all of the advantages going into the game. So it makes sense that like, okay, the main reason you'd want to choose attacker is to get choice of first.
Yep. Yeah, that's what was my main question when I first read this, because they showed this before they had the live like battle report, and I was like, why would you ever pick the attacker if the defender gets to like pick after he's seen your regiment ability? He gets to pick the actually guy ran. They get to pick the deployment maps, and then they get to set up their terrain first. And then speaking of deployment, do not deploy. The deployment rules are: do not deploy the armies as described in the core rules. Instead, the attacker sets up all the units in their army first, followed by the defender. Each unit must be set up wholly within friendly territory and more than 6 inches from enemy territory. So again, the attacker has to put all their stuff down, and then defender has to put all their stuff down. But that does kind of line up with almost kind of how the core rules work, with whoever finishes deployment first gets to go first. So they deployed everything into one drop, and then you deployed everything into one drop.
Yes.
And then they get
to pick who goes first. But it's one of the things that you get to see as the player deploying second in that scenario. You get to see where everything is. So you can be like, okay, I need to put myself in a place where if I'm given first turn, I can capitalize on it. But if he takes first turn, I'm not like, up Shit's Creek without a paddle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's definitely interesting. I like that they say this. When I first read this, I was like, this is a lot of setup work.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the reasons I don't like playing match play kill team as much, is because there's a 14-step process for starting a kill team game.
Yeah, that sucks.
Like you have like a 10 to 15 minute segment where you're not playing the game, but you're just setting it up. And like I understand why that has to happen in a match play environment. It just is annoying to do, especially when I'm like, I like to play match play, in a competitive podcast, and my friends are like, this takes too long. Let's just play. And I'm like, it matters. The choices can matter.
It's a deployment check.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. It is a deployment check. They also mentioned the battle will last 4 rounds. The special rules they call preparing the Spearhead deck. They basically just say that it uses the twist. Use the twist card relative to the board that you picked, and it says like each person take a battle tactic deck. Shuffle it, place it down, and then go from
Draw your hand.
Draw your last pathetic card.
Heart of the cards.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Again, I'm big against card games. Like big.
Yeah.
Not necessarily Magic. Magic is fine. I understand its place. But like I don't like Underworlds. I'll say it. Yeah, and I mean,
we've gone on the record saying we don't like Underworlds, and then like there is a bunch of this stuff where it feels kind of Underworlds-esque. Like the drawing the battle tactics is a thing from Underworlds, where it's like you have to draw your deck. But I think the big difference here is Underworld has it faction specific. This is not. So like you don't have to. Your knowledge check isn't, did I memorize what your deck is? Am I keeping track of what things you've already done and reducing it? It's like, hey, I'm keeping track of the thing that we're both trying to do.
Yeah, which is nice. Yeah.
So
I'm hoping that this is one of those things that it's balanced enough where because I could totally see this getting a lot of traction as like a competitive venue or a competitive game, like because especially because you can get a tournament done so quickly. But like, I hope that it isn't one of those things where like a single faction is just like far and away the best. And I think that that's inevitable at launch, you know. But I feel like AOS is a thing. Like AOS in general, like there are strong factions, but like it very much depends on the pilot. You know what I mean? Like 100%. You can win with anything, you know?
Even like the grand finals that they did a rematch of was Lumineth and Skaven, which at the time, like they were like relatively strong, but they weren't Khorne or they weren't like the factions that everybody was looking at.
Mortis Praetorian or like, like they weren't like you want to play competitive Sigmar? Choose one of these armies.
4, They weren't one of the 4.
Wasn't Croak.
But I do like this setup. We have a friend who's currently playing, and they said that they played 4 games of Spearhead while they were at the Dallas Open, and they won all 4. But they're also like the best player I know. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's very indicative of what's it called? Like I think skill expression matters a lot. If they won all 4, you know what I mean? I don't think it was. Yeah. They showed us a lot of other stuff. So they showed us almost all the battle tactics. Didn't go through and do a tally, but pretty much all the battle tactics. They showed us a lot of twists. They were playing on Gyran, so we only saw
the Gyranian.
The Gyranian twist. We don't want the actual ones besides the one they've already showed us. So we'll kind of go through the battle tactics and talk about the ones that we haven't seen yet, because they did re-show us some of the ones that we've all seen. So do you want to show us the attack on 2 fronts?
Sure. So we have attack on 2 fronts, right? So this is a new one that they got. The battle tactic on this card is you can use battle tactic at the end of your turn if you control 2 objectives that were controlled by your opponent at the start of this turn. Very similar to one of the universal battle tactics that we leaked in our last podcast.
Exactly.
But pretty good. You know what I mean? Definitely not doable. Like if you're in a position to do something like this, like your hammer unit is poised to kill something, and then your like chaff unit can run onto an objective and just steal it. It's a doable thing. But the command is it's call for reinforcements. Declare a friendly infantry or cavalry unit with 5 or more models that has been destroyed and has not already been replaced. Set up a replacement unit consisting of D3 models from that unit anywhere on the battlefield 6 inches away from all enemy units. Very strong. Yes. Just summoning a little unit back into the game. Back. Yeah, 100%. Again, there's a lot of caveats. Has to have 5 or more models. Cannot have already been replaced. So let's say you want to do this with like Liberators. You can't do it if the Liberators are if they've already come back once.
Yes.
So, and another question that we talked about is, if you were to do this with Liberators, right? Can you
use their reinforcements?
Use this ability first. Die. Yeah, use this ability first. Have them die again, and then call them back with the reinforcements ability. Yeah. Who's to say?
I don't. And I didn't cut it off. Maybe they just showed it because, again, they've been doing this a lot where they cut off the bottom, which is like the keywords thing that we need. So like if this has the reinforcements keyword on it, then I would say no. So this becomes much less interesting to the Stormcast version of the Spearhead, because we can only use it on one unit, that unit being Liberators, and I'd rather get the whole unit back than get D3.
100%. Yeah. And I'd rather get the battle tactic than sacrifice the card.
Yeah. True. The attack on 2 fronts is very similar to the one that we saw in the 2,000 point game. However, it doesn't have the asterisks that 2 objectives that
your opponent controlled.
Yeah, it says two objectives your opponent controlled, but then one of those objectives had to be in a specific category.
It was one. I think it was like 2. I actually think it's easier in the big game. I have to go back and look at it. But I thought it was one. Like one has to be taken from your opponent. One can just be like neutral.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, because this is harder.
This is harder.
Yeah, because the other one is take 2 objectives. One of them had to be controlled from your opponent, so not just stand on a neutral one that you didn't control. Interesting. Okay. Well, I mean, there's only 5. We know there's 5 objectives, so like more than likely they're gonna have it. They're gonna sit on it. We sleep in. The next one that they talked about that I think is like super interesting is the cut off the head, because it is paired with countercharge.
Yeah.
So as we predicted, countercharge exists in this game, which is hype.
Yeah.
You can complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if the enemy general was slain this turn, or the enemy general was slain in an earlier turn and enemy units were destroyed this turn, which is perfect. They eliminated any feels bad of the enemy general accidentally killed himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So now I just can't do it. Which that happened a lot in
old AOS.
Yeah,
3.
in 3rd edition, I would do that a lot. Where it's their battle attack is to kill my specific thing, and it says it has to kill it with an attack or something like that, and not just it be dead at the end of the turn. I'd be like, okay, what's the way that I can kill it myself? So I deny them their tactic, which feels so bad.
Yeah, I'm trying to kill my general right now.
Yeah. And then the paired command is countercharge. Pick a friendly unit that is not in combat to use this ability. That
Big
unit
spicy.
Can use a charge ability as if it was your charge phase, which is perfect.
Big spicy.
Mm-hmm. It's a lot that is going to be. I was super curious what they were going to pair with this, because I was like, that's got to be the easiest battle tactic.
It has to be
otherwise
easy.
It's countercharge all day.
100%. It has to, which is pretty easy if I'm being honest. If you wait till the general's dead, you just
and then just kill a thing.
Yeah.
Or to kill the general. If you're in a position to kill the general, you're in a position to kill the general.
That being said, it's not as easy to kill stuff. So
no, definitely not.
I can't remember if we had do not. I think we had do not waver before, right? I'm pretty sure.
I think we talked about it, because I remember the fallback and rally being
a thing,
pretty nice, having a nice rally.
I don't think raise was a thing though. I think this is new.
Yeah, I agree.
So raise is this next battle tactic card, right? So you complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if you have any friendly units within 3 inches of the long battlefield edge, right? I think we had one before, but it was the short battlefield edge. What's it called? But this is the long. So not super hard. You just have to have something on their side of the board or your side of the board. Could be a recurred unit or whatever it's called, like a reinforced unit. Or you get Inspiring Presence. Declare a friendly hero to use this ability. Roll a dice for the rest of the turn. Add the number rolled to the control score of that hero. Right. So if you have a big hero who's standing on an objective alone, you know what I mean. He's got 6 or 7 clan rats on it with him. This would be really nice to ensure that you're going to control that objective at the end of the turn.
Yeah. It is. It's nice that it's any hero phase. So, I would have preferred it almost at the end to do it as a reaction, at the end of the turn, reactionary, he's bigger.
Mm-hmm. He gets bigger.
Yeah. This is if I throw him into combat, he could potentially die and it go away, or
this caveat now.
Yeah. If you give him bonuses, maybe he didn't need him because you ended up killing all the stuff off the objective anyway. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's a good insurance policy about I will more likely claim this objective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm going to talk about do not waver just because I don't think we talked about it.
Do it.
So the battle tactic is do not waver. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if any friendly units use the fight ability this turn, and no friendly units were destroyed. So it's basically fight something and don't die. It also said for friendly units, which is great because you might throw them into something and just have them fight. And I know mathematically you can't clean my unit off the board, which is nice. And the other one is fall back and rally, which is a reaction to you declaring a retreat ability. And then so you declare retreat ability. No mortal damage is inflicted on the unit that's doing the retreat ability. In addition, after the ability is resolved, roll 1 dice for each slain model from that unit. For each 5-up, you can return 1 slain model to that unit. So it basically works like old rally with a 5-up, which is really great for clan rats.
Yeah, or you spike pretty hard on rat ogres.
Yeah, and it's also just if you didn't choose the passive of retreat with no damage, you now have the ability to retreat with no damage.
Yeah. Oh, think about it like this. What if you have once per game ability on prosecutors where you can retreat and charge? You have 1 left. You retreat them, rally 1 back, and then charge back in. That'd be pretty strong.
Oh yeah, that would be pretty strong. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so much stuff that you can do with this. How you pair these together. I'm pretty hyped about it.
Yeah.
So if we want to go to the next slide, the next grouping that they showed us,
we talked about cut off the head, do not waver, but hold ground. You complete this battle tactic at the end of your turn if there are more friendly models contesting the large terrain piece in your territory than there are enemy models contesting it. There's a really good turn 1 battle tactic.
Yep.
Then the other one is rise to the challenge, right? You pick a friendly hero to use this ability, you heal D6 on that hero. Or as we discussed before, 1.
Maybe. Yeah. True.
But no, it's nice that I think this is a much better battle tactic than it is an ability, as much as healing your heroes in this game when they're like kind of hittier is important. I think that securing points is more important,
Yeah, definitely. I do agree, especially when it's a D6. If it was just like 3, it'd be a lot more.
A lot more spicy.
That's a lot more. Especially when you're comparing it with, like, I feel like hold ground should have been with the countercharge one.
Yeah, where it's just like an easy, like, exist in your deployment zone.
Mm-hmm. But now you give up countercharge in order to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely interesting. Before we move on to the twists, I just kind of want to talk about the battle tactics and how they play during the game. Mm-hmm. Because, like I said, the Skaven player came back. He was more than 5 points behind the other player, so because he was the underdog. And got to choose. He got the twist. Yeah. Okay, so sorry. There was a double turn in the thing. I believe the Stormcast player double turned. But at the end, it was basically, I'm down. I chose the twist this turn. So because I chose the twist this turn, I'm getting an extra point for doing a thing that I already was doing, right? Mm-hmm. The other person didn't do that, so they didn't get, or they, like, I think they had their models killed off, like, the specific section, right? So at the end, there was this thing where it was a lot of drama with him holding up the cards and being like, okay, so because I did the twist card, I get an extra point here. And then I have this card. And these 2 units are adhering to this battle tactic. So I get this battle tactic. And then I place this card down. And now this battle tactic is this unit over here. And then at the end, it, like, brought it back from, like, a very, like, hardcore loss to now we are tied. You know what I mean? And crazy. Like, there was a dice roll, basically. It was like, if he could kill this unit and claim this point from the Stormcast player, he would have got 1 more point for holding another one. And then one. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
So it was very, like, I don't disagree with a lot of people who were like, the production value sucked, you know what I mean? But, like, it's a live action thing of 2 people who aren't necessarily gamers, and they're doing it. One of them was doing it for the first time, you know what I mean? Like, they kind of had a core concept of the rules, but, like, they were playing. Also, the commentators are like, they're 40K people, you know what I mean? So they were getting a lot of the rules kind of incorrect, plus, like, not saying the proper names for things. So
but if you look at and you obviously, I didn't watch it, you did. Mm-hmm. But what's it called? Like, if you look at the core of, like, how the game is played and what they're doing, like, you get an idea of, like, because like in what we're doing, there's a lot of not interpolation, but, like, assumption. You know what I mean? Because we're just reading raw rules. We don't really know how everything plays exactly. We have an idea of how everything plays, but, like, seeing it, like, actually, like, seeing the dominoes fall there's an interest and, like, there's a learning in that I'm sure was really cool.
100%. And I just think that the fact that I almost don't like how, compared to this, I don't like how the battle tactic works in the 2K game, because I declare what I'm going to do battle tactic wise at the beginning of the turn. Yeah. It is nice because now you get a little bit of counterplay to be like, okay, well, now I have to deny this person. But I think that adds a lot of feel bad in the sense of,
I think it's going to be really bad. I think it's going to be like, it's going to be
my game is now like, how do I deny you doing that point with all of these tools that I have now with all of my commands in your specific phases? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I think in this way, like with the battle tactics being at the end, there is going to be whoever knows what the enemy battle tactic is capable of, or like what they have in their hands.
Mm-hmm. If like, whoever's done process of elimination better.
Exactly. Yeah. Whoever like knows like, oh, you're trying to do this thing where you move these guys over here. I have to make sure like that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because you don't get to see what their battle tactics are doing. So it is a little bit of like ebb and
flow.
Yeah. Like, ebb and flow, like coin or two sides of the coin. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you get the counterplay if in the main game where they declare it and you can potentially mess them up, and in this one it's like it could kind of feel bad with at the end of the turn they're like, oh, by the way, I did all my battle tactics, so
I just win.
I just got all the
points. You used a single command ability. Mm-hmm. You can't mathematically win.
At least that turn. Yeah
It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see.
Yeah, me too. I know our friend that said they really enjoyed it. They said that they had a funner time playing the Spearhead game, mostly because it's a new game and it's not a solved game yet. So it's one of those things where you're just playing a game against the dude. But yeah, I'm super excited. That brings us into the twists. Again, we saw the Gyran twist, which I think I included. Yeah, I included all the ones that we hadn't seen before. So they showed us some other Gyran twists, but they have not showed us these ones.
Mm-hmm.
So, James, would you mind walking through one of them?
I'll do Grandfather's Blessing. The underdog can pick one of the effects below. If there is no underdog, the players roll off, and then the winner just selects an effect. The first one is Nurgle's Rot. Pick an enemy unit on the battlefield and subtract 1 from the save rolls for that unit for the battle round. Big. Eroding Miasma. Pick an enemy unit on the battlefield. Ward rolls cannot be made for that unit this round.
Love it.
Turn them off.
Turn
them off. Can't do it. Nope, not for you. Right, Millie?
Like that. I like the choice too because they might have like a 5-up save or something where the save isn't important, but turning off the ward roll is very important.
Very important. Pretty hot against Rock Guts.
Yeah, true. I like that. Mm-hmm. Next one is Life Spring. So the underdog picks one objective on the battlefield. If there's no, they roll off. That objective becomes a Life Spring this battle round. Each player scores 1 extra victory point at the end of their turn if they control that objective. In addition, at the end of each turn in this battle round, after victory points have been scored, heal 1 for each unit that is contesting that objective. So that's really nice because you can just pick the objective in your side if you just want to get extra points and heal.
Suck it up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one?
The last one is Reclaim Gyran. The underdog picks 2 objectives on the battlefield. If there is no underdog, each player picks 1 objective on the battlefield, starting with the active player. Each player then scores 1 extra victory point at their end of the turn for each of those objectives that they control. So you basically are like, okay, these 2 objectives, hot, better. Get more
believe
points.
This was the one that he played. That was the twist for the last round. Mm-hmm. So it's like, because I'm the underdog and you're not on either of these, I get extra victory points for standing on the 2 that I chose, plus this, you know what I mean? Big swing.
Biggest swingist.
Yeah, biggest swingist. So those are the twists, and we're super excited about that. Allows you the fact that you get so much choice in them, it's gonna benefit people who choose correctly, Yeah.
You're just gonna it's all about this game season a lot about resource management.
100%. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah.
They also showed us almost, if not all, of the War Scrolls. The only one I don't have is Gat Rat.
The Gat Rat. Sorry, I think it's going to be similar to the War Scroll we've already seen.
Yeah. So I'm going to go through the War Scrolls that we've already seen for the Stormcast ones. Mm-hmm. So they showed us the Liberators. It has everything you think that it has. It also has the reinforcement symbol, which I didn't expect, honestly.
I love that head.
The head is dope. Yeah. They have a little new card art on it. And the War Scroll is basically what we've already seen before, which is nice. But I like the fact that if my Liberators die, I can bring them back. I do enjoy that. Mm-hmm. Prosecutors also come back, which is kind of crazy.
Pretty good.
They have a 12-inch move, 2 health, 3-up save, 1 control. They have coherency with a range of 2, and they have the Heralds of the Righteousness passive that we already know about, where they can roll 3d6 to make a charge. Their damage is kind of so it's going to be a total of 9 attacks, 3 threes, Ren 1 damage, so a total of potential 9 damage. Plus, they'll have 3 shots at 3/3, Ren 1, D3 at a 10-inch range. But the biggest thing is that these guys move 12, they fly.
Oh yeah,
and they have confirmed that fly works the way that it does in 40k, where it's you don't go in old AOS, you went up and over and down, and now fly is just you ignore vertical distance, so you just bloop, right across there, which is much more powerful. But the commentators did say there was one commentator who had played 6 or 7 games of specifically the Skaven versus Stormcast matchup, and he said the games are usually won and lost about how you use your prosecutors, because they're the unit that can actually impact the game the most because they move around the most.
Yeah. 12-inch move is huge. Yeah. Especially on a 30 by 22-inch board.
Plus 3d6. It's 12-inch plus 3d6, which is disgusting.
You choose your engagement.
Yes,
legitimately.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're mini dragons. They're mini storm drakes.
Mm-hmm.
I love the biggest thing for me is that they come back. Like, I would hate for them to just get shot off the board.
Yeah. Well, you get to, it's also, you get to throw them in twice. So it's like the first time you can kind of throw them into something important, try to kill a character. If they die, they die. And then you bring them back in, you know?
100%. Yeah. I think like if you send these guys on specifically in the Skaven matchup, you send them on a rat hero hunting mission. Yeah. Because their heroes don't come back. So you like suicide mission these guys in to kill some heroes. They eventually die, but then they come back.
Yeah.
The next one is the Lord Veritant, which is the one I'm most excited about. And interesting enough, his abilities that he has on his card are different than the full game version. So let me talk about that a little bit. He has a Sense Unholy Sorcery passive ability, and the effect is he has a Griff Crow. That's a token, which I love. The unit has a ward of a 5-up while the Griff Crow is there. If he makes an unmodified ward roll of a 1, remove the Griff Crow from the battlefield. And how it works in the big game is if you make an unmodified save roll of a 1, the Griff Crow goes away. So I like the ward roll because I'm pretty sure you still get to choose to make a ward roll. Yeah. So they can't just chip damage you down and make you roll a bunch of dice and get rid of the ward or get rid of the Griff Crow. And just like he's a 6 health model, so having a 5-up ward is pretty nice. 5-inch move, 3 save, 2 control. He has 2 weapons, Staff of Adjuration, which is a 1 attack, 3s, Ren 1, 3 damage. What?
Abjuration.
Abjuration. There's a lot of words.
True. It's true.
And then he has the Judgment Blade, which is pretty hype because it's 3 attacks, 3, Ren 1, D3 damage, and then Anti-Wizard +1 Rend, and Anti-Priest +1/1. So this could potentially be, we already have a Grace here.
Yeah. Any well-learned folk. Come here.
This guy has a blindfold, so he doesn't like anybody who reads books.
Yeah, exactly. Anybody that's smart, he's like, I'm here to clap. Can we also talk about how he's got like a fire stick? Like he's like Staff of Abjuration. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Fire sword.
Fire sword. I know. I love the fire sword. I love this model, and I love the Griff Crow. I think it's dope. He's also our priest, so he has the cleansing fire priest ability. So you pick a visible enemy unit within 12 inches of this to be the target, make chanting roll on a 3-up, roll a dice for each model in the target unit. For each 5-up, inflict 1 mortal damage on the target unit. So that'd be pretty nice against clan rats, less good as the model count goes down. And it's a priest ability, so it goes off on a 3, which is pretty hype because you either get it this turn or you guarantee if you don't, turn. You guarantee next turn.
Yeah.
Pretty hype.
Unless you roll 2 ones.
Yeah. 2. Oh. And then we have the main big model in the box, which is a Lord Vigilant on Griffstalker.
Big hot crow.
So he has the Hollowed Great Axe, which is 5 attacks, 3s, 2 Ren, 2 damage. And you could potentially give this guy crit mortals if you really wanted to with his enhancement, which is kind of nice. He has 12-inch move, which is, again, massive.
Yeah.
Doesn't fly, has 8 health, which is really nice in this game mode. 3-up save and 2 control. And then his abilities are pretty freaking nice. So he has a once per battle, any combat phase ability called Deliver Judgment. Declare, pick a friendly non-hero unit wholly within 12 of this unit to be the target. The target can use 2 fight abilities this phase. After each fight is used, however, the target has the strike last for the rest of the phase. So it's basically like you get to fight once. If you don't kill it, they fight you, and then you fight them again.
Yeah.
Love that. I think that's insane.
That's really good for chaff into chaff.
Yep, that's so good for chaff into chaff. It would be really good for prosecutors. Again, he moves 2, prosecutors move 2. Prosecutors jump into something, hit something, and then but if it's like a small hero, guarantee they kill it. And then his other ability is in the hero phase. Plan the attack. So declare pick an objective you do not control. And for the rest of the turn, add 1 to hit rolls for combat attacks made by friendly units that target enemy units contesting that objective.
That's so good.
This is not a once per battle ability.
That's so good. That's way better.
Yeah. Especially, dude, you combine them together. So in the hero phase, you're like this objective, and then your liberators move forward. And then in the fight phase, once per battle, any combat phase, Deliver Judgment, they fight twice and they're hitting better
each time.
Better twice.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's almost like this heroic ability is better than all of the enhancements that I read earlier.
Yeah. So this is really dope, especially with his movement, his potential damage, and his 3-up save, 8 health. So yeah, definitely something, especially if he has this ability stacked on that. I definitely like the 5-up ward investment on that for the enhancement.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
keep this guy around.
Yeah, overall, I love this. I love that I get to play with these little heroes, and I might not take in the big game. You know what I mean?
And they mean something. Like their attacks mean something because it's like the damage is shrunk down so much.
Exactly. Yeah. You have that feeling of like, yeah, it's a big scary dude because you're not hitting like a god. You're hitting like a bunch of other rats. Yeah, just a dude. You know what I mean? I like that because I feel Stormcast have that issue where it's like, oh yeah, these guys are like immortal, forever trained people, but they end up hitting like the god of death, and you're like, oh well, they're not that great. Well, of course they're not that great. They're hitting the god of death.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a literal deity in this world.
Exactly. Overall, even though it's only 4 units, overall I'm a big fan of this. I'm like super excited to play it. So.
Yeah, it looks super fun.
Yeah, I'll let you take it for the ratty boys.
Skaven, right? So we start with our many, our stinky, our clan rats, right? Move 6, saves 5 up, 1 control per guy, and then 1 health each, right? 10 wound units, 10 clan rats. They have their rusty blades, so that means 2 attacks, 4s, 5s, no rend, 1 damage. Standard bad attack, yeah. But again, it's one of those things that it's like giving these things crit mortals, giving these things. There's ways to give this stuff teeth that isn't, necessarily on the war scroll. Again, and another thing, right? So Seething Swarm, right? The effect, you can return D3 models to this unit, right? So at the end of any turn, right? So it's not the end of any round, it's the end of any turn. So you get to do this twice per round, which is another reason that you want to be able to retreat your rats. You know what I mean? Like if you can keep those units alive, then you get to kind of recur and, stay around longer and
especially for the second iteration
of
these guys.
Agreed.
When they actually have to live.
Yeah, and these guys also are reinforcements or reinforceable. But yeah, no standard chaff unit, but there's definitely a lot of play with them.
Yeah, I'm sad that they don't show us how many are in the unit.
Yeah, I know. We're assuming 10. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure you get 2 units to 10. I don't know if one of them has to start off the board, or they might have just been doing a thing where they had 20 models, and then when the 10 went away, they brought in another 10 as the reinforcements, which I think is kind of likely. And you're just playing with 10 clan rats that will die and then come back once,
Yeah, because 20 models is a lot.
20 models is a lot.
Yeah, especially in a game like this.
Yeah. Nothing we saw on the Stormcast side, like combined, can really do 20 damage. So
no. Yeah. Going down, big hotness, rat ogres. They have 4 health each, so big, thick boys. 5-up save, so not terribly tanky. Control of 1. They don't. Clan rats are holding points. They're not. 6-inch moves, not terrible. One of them has a warp fire gun, right? So that has the 2d6, 10-inch range. 2s to hit, 4s to wound, 2 rend, 1 damage, right? So potential 12 damage on a gun attack, which is great for a hammer unit that you're going to be honestly wanting to put them in combat more than you're going to want them shooting. But there is only 1 gun, so it's also very swingy because it's 2d6. But shooting combat, great ability. You also have claws. The big hitter is the 5 attacks with the melee weapons, 4s, 3s, 1 rend, 2 damage, right? That's normally 30 damage potential output, which is crazy in this small game, because it's 50, because it's 3 times 5, 15 damage times 2, because it's a 2 damage
2 times
attack.
5. 1 is armed with the gun, the other 2 have the claws and fangs.
Oh, so they don't have... Oh, right. Got it. So 1 has a gun, 2... Got it. So it's 20 damage. 20 damage is still pretty nuts.
Yeah.
In addition, you can inflict D3 mortal wounds. It has the Unleash Warp Fury, which means it basically hurts itself and gets better at hitting. So you can inflict D3 mortal wounds to this unit and add 1 to the attack characteristic for the melee profile. So you get another potential 4 damage on top of that, which is really good. Yep. So definitely,
these are definitely your elite infantry hammer units.
100%. And these aren't I don't think these are finesse pieces. These are just like hammers,
Yep.
Like the prosecutors, I also kind of feel like fill that role. You know what I mean? But they're a lot more of like a finesse piece, and this is kind of more of like a staple, like hammer for hammer, like true hammer in this game.
Yep.
You then have the Grey Seer, right? This is your standard caster. They got a Warp Stone staff, 3 attacks, 4s, 1 d3 damage. Pretty standard hero staff attack. They have 5 health, 6-inch move. They have a 6-up save, real bad. T-shirt saves. Control of 2. They have, during your hero phase, you have the Will of the Horned Rat ability, which is you pick one friendly unit wholly within 13 inches of this target and roll a dice. On a 3+, add the roll to the target's control score, so you make stuff better at controlling. And if you do that to clan rats, that's crazy, because you can go from being, your control score is 1 to your control score is 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, right? Well, like, I think control score is at the end. So, like, can the control
not the value. Got it. So it's still really good. So if you're like, definitely. Control is 10 at the end because there's 10 clan rats. You're at roll a 6, it's 16. So, really good. And then you also have a spell, Wither. So you pick a visible for enemy unit within 13 inches of the target. Make 2d6 casting roll and a 6+, inflict d3 mortal wounds on that target. So it's a nice, easy, like, ping, 1 cast. Interestingly enough, this isn't they don't have a power level on this. So it's just an ability, similar to how other stuff is abilities, but it looks like they're kind of removing that step of the magic, Yeah. Like
for this game,
for this
100%.
Game, which I think is important.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. And then last but not least, we have the Claw Lord, the big boy on the talkie rat on walkie rat. Control score of 2, 7 health, 9-inch move, so fast. Not as fast as obviously the Stormcast guys, but fast. 4-up saves, so a little better. He's got the Rattling Pistol, which is a 10-inch D6 attacks, 3s, 1 rend, 1 damage. It has crit auto wound, and you can shoot it in combat, so it's pretty good. The melee weapons are the halberd, which is the big thing he's got on his arm. He's holding in his hand. It's 5 attacks, 3s, 4s, 1 rend, 2 damage, so pretty decent 10 damage output there. And then you have the Gnaw Beast itself, which has 4 attacks, 4s, 3s, 1 damage, and D3. So that's pretty. In addition, like, this is a pretty hitty hero, especially for a small game.
Yeah, he's also got a ward of 6, which is hype.
Yeah, he's got a ward of 6 up. He also has the Cornered Rat ability, which is, while this unit is damaged, add 3 to the attacks characteristic of the Warforged Halberd. So instead of 5 attacks, it's 8 attacks.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It doesn't mean it's not below half. It's just damage. So if he goes from 7 health to 6, he's hitting hard.
Yeah, he's hitting hard. And 7 health is not, like, nothing to shake at in this game. Yeah.
No, especially 7 with a 4-up save, which is much better than all the other rats.
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's because he's wearing plate. Plate.
He's got the rat plate. Yeah. I did check the receipts and the Liberators. It's the same verbiage when it comes to the control score for the Will of the Horned Rat. So it is going to be like, basically, it's not the number that is changing. It's the sum of those numbers plus
at
the end.
That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's a little, it's clearly it's not broken, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But overall, that's the list. So you get potentially 10 or 20 rats. I would say probably 10 clan rats. You get 3 rat ogres. You get a Grey Seer. You get the Gat Rat, and you get the
Gat Rat, which not seen but already talked about, which is like the fact that he can just sit in the back and start shooting things. Another thing, you can sit at the point and actively be participating in the fight. It's pretty crazy.
Really good. So I think this is going to be like a flash in the pan force where it's like they're not super survivable. They do a ton of damage, but you have to respect them because they can do so much damage.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like the Stormcast feel more like they do good damage, but they're more like they're better. They have much better saves across the board. They have a little less, like, similar health, but they're going to be tankier. And they do less damage. So it's like, and some of them are more finessey, whereas like,
the damage definitely comes from using the hero's ability, the Lord Vigilance ability, correctly. You know what I mean? If you can use that ability correctly, you're going to make something hit really hard.
Yeah.
But I almost kind of like just having rat ogres that will just hit hard regardless.
Yeah. They just walk in and do damage.
They walk in and do damage.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What overall thoughts of a lot more now that we know like how the format's played? We've seen a lot more of the battle tactics commands, that kind of stuff.
I can tell you confidently after reading this, I'm a little more on board with playing the rats and Spearhead. This kind of seems fun. This kind of seems fun.
Yeah, I definitely like I think it's going to be difficult for me to not try everyone, at least on TTS, and like understand.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love the fact that you can just grab a box and start playing, you know?
Yeah.
And the biggest thing for me that is like in the realm of I like this the most is a lot of people were like, oh, well, this is going to be confusing to new players, or like, oh, you don't have to worry about the advanced or the terrain modules, except when you do, you know what I mean? Because they still have magic, they still have commands. I'm like, I hear what you're saying. However, you only have to worry about what's in front of you.
Yeah.
So like, there's still magic, but it's on the card. There's still battle tactics, but it's on the card, and you only have 3 of them in front of you. So you only have to worry about those 3 for your sake. There's still commands, but they're on the card. You know what I mean? Like, because you have a much more limited system of information that you yourself have to worry about, I love that so much more.
Yeah.
You know, you're dealing with this as well as introducing you to the same concepts of the big game. So I like that the most about this game.
It feels a lot easier to digest.
Mm-hmm. And it gives a stage for characters that you might not see as much to do a thing like the Lord Veritant.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love for him to start hitting the rat. You know what I mean? Because then he gets
a stage
+1
to
rend.
play on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So that's more or less my thoughts. I'm like very, very excited for this overall.
Yeah, me too. Hype. Big Spearhead hype. We've been jonesing out the whole time.
True.
Yeah.
The thing that I'm most excited about in the box, I believe, is the Fire and Jade book.
Yeah.
Like, I want to just sit down and read through that book and see, like, I want to read all of the abilities of the enhancements and like the specific factions abilities. I want to see all the cards, and it puts it in a digestible format where, like, if I can read through that book, I'm introduced to all of the potential players that I might see. Where, like, in a 2K game, you're like, I don't know what you got over there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So at least it introduces you to the core concepts, which I enjoy. Yeah. James, any final thoughts before we call it?
No, cannot wait. Literally cannot wait.
I know.
Yeah.
It's May 19th. We got a long time to wait. So next week start faction focuses. So I'm excited about that. We'll wonder what faction they'll talk about first. Probably Lumineth, if I had to make a guess. So
I think so
I'm
too.
excited to talk about it. But
yeah, we'll talk to
thanks for coming by, and we hope you see you more in the future, and we're excited to talk about more about Spearhead as well as the GHB format. All right. Peace, everyone.
See ya.